Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, good night, wherever you are in the world. This is a New York by night, the Camarilla venue, where we find ourselves this time in a museum Prince uses quite often. And tonight he is receiving a guest again who has sent him a letter sealed with wax and all, a prestigious letter claiming or more like requesting to have a word with the prince. The prince, in all his wisdom, has decided to not meet with the man alone. Although he has not deemed himself unworthy, he still is training the seneschal to actually be the best seneschal she can be, or better. So, the seneschal will arrive before Maximilian, but soon Maximilian will be arriving, parking his vehicle, whichever it might be, in the parking lot below the cloister, and then is led by a few men, no more than four, towards the room where the prince and his seneschal are sitting, awaiting his presence.
For this meeting, Max will put on his usual attire of a well-cut suit and tie, as would befit any modern-day venture primogen. He will arrive in his SUV, as usual, and when he pulls in, Max gets out of the passenger side, and he looks back to Sergeant Drescher and says, "This may take a while, and I don't expect any trouble, so you can leave the engine off and listen to whatever ball game you see fit to listen to." Sergeant Drescher waves a hand, says, "Thanks, boss." Kills the engine, turns on the radio. Max will then turn to the business at hand. Being given a proper escort of the prince's retainers, Max will observe his surroundings, realize that he is at a museum with fairly old art, as it seems to be medieval art that's been purchased and or donated, and the history major that is Max's training at West Point. He will lament the fact that he won't be able to stop and enjoy some of the sights that the cloisters would have on display. But despite Max's wishes, he is here for another reason, and he will make his way as led by the retainer escort.
The retainers are led by a man with a mustache. This man has been seen before, and this man, now armed as what seems to be like a sergeant or an officer of the American Army, nothing special when it comes to his attire these times, leading the armed group along with the prestigious guest towards the room. And when they arrive at the room, he knocks, waiting to hear an answer back.
Max will stand there quietly, hands behind his back, humming some song he heard on the radio to himself.
The prince smiles, then looks at the seneschal and nods towards her to give the command to open.
And Rose will rise from the chair that she's sitting on, and she'll give the sign. Simply lets a servant open the door.
From the inside, the doors opened, and a dim light is shining into the rather dark hallway they just passed through. The light's normally dimmed to protect the arts. And as the light shines into the hallway you stand in, you are bowed to by the man with the mustache and are allowed in.
Max will nod to the mustachioed man. He won't say anything, but he will nod and he will walk in. He sees Prince DeWitt. And then to him, stranger sitting next to him, as they've now had the pleasure of meeting. Max will walk in, take a look around at all the various medieval art and objects and sculptures that adorn the walls, and seem to take in some of the more outstanding pieces, the ones that catch his eye as he walks towards the two. Anybody in the prince's presence, however, is obviously someone important. So he will walk up.
You can make that assumption as you walk towards the two chairs. The prince smiles at you, and then you can hear behind you the door close. If you would glance back, you would see the mustache-wearing man is standing inside the room, along with two valets, not even armed, just dressed nice. However, when you enter the room is guarded more than just one man. In every corner, about 6 men you can see are armed with what seems to be either automatic weapons, or one is even showing a katana-like weapon on his back, as well as on his hip. However, you have a history major, right?
He is, yes.
Also in foreign history?
Sorry, say that again?
Also in foreign history. Would you recognize a weapon not from your country of origin?
Considering no sword is actually native to America?
Yes, you would recognize a sword, but it doesn't mean you recognize any bloody sword in the world.
Yeah, I know. America doesn't make any sword. They don't have any swords that we claim as our own. They all came from European or Asian influences. So,
well, this is definitely a weapon you would connect to India or to Indonesia, one of the two.
A kukri?
And the man does look at least Indian to you. Not Indian as in Native American, but Indian as in India.
Dot, not feathers, understood.
And those are the men in the room. Actually, not only men, there are women as well. More men, though. And as you approach closer and closer, your eye will be attracted to one individual in particular next to the prince. Please, Rose, do me a favor and describe yourself to this newcomer, to you.
Well, I don't think there's really a description necessary anymore, but next to the prince, you'll see a woman. She wears a black cape that kind of obscures all the other clothing she's wearing. She doesn't have her hood on, however, and her white hair, you can see, is curly, half long. That's not the most interesting feature, though. She's tall. She's 7 foot tall. Her skin is white, almost, well, in certain lights it seems to be almost a little bit bluish.
Oh.
And her eyes are alien-like and black.
Whatever your books might say, you would not know or recognize this bloodline. But she is sitting next to the prince, and therefore she must be one of us.
Max will that will obviously catch Max's attention, as he's never seen anything like that before, and probably need to drop some self-control on that one, because that's really going to take him by surprise. I remember what my self-control stat is. Pause.
Don't worry. You get the you give the proper reaction to something that's quite out of the ordinary.
Nope. 4. Okay, good. 4. Okay. And dropping the dice. And yeah. Okay. Alrighty.
You keep yourself from gawking. That's a bonus.
Yeah.
As you approach closer and closer, the prince will actually stand up for you, which is rare.
Is he dressed in his military uniform, or is he
He's in a military uniform, but you haven't seen this one before.
Okay.
You recognize it immediately. You'll recognize it as the spanking red that's usually worn by the British.
The Beefeater Guards or the Revolutionary War era red coat?
The red coat.
Red coats, okay.
As he rises up, he simply says, "Welcome, Mr. Hardcastle. It's a pleasure as always. Please let me introduce someone you have not met before.
Max will
I'd
turn.
like to introduce to you personally Miss Rose, a representative of Clan Bruja, an honorary member, and my seneschal here in New York.
Max
Miss
will.
Rose, let me introduce to you in return Mr. Maximilian Hardcastle."
Max will extend a hand to Miss Rose. Miss Rose, it is a pleasure to meet you.
Rose, she would have risen at the same time as the prince did. She'll also extend her hand, and as she does, her hands are gloved, but you can see that the fingers are like almost seem to be stretched out, like as if the entire hand has been stretched. And she'll take yours.
Max
Well,
will.
the pleasure is mine.
Max will kiss the back of the hand.
Oh, a
And
true
then-
gentleman then.
Then return it. A gentleman and a warrior, and I present myself after meeting with my rest of my cousins that they have unanimously chosen me to be Primogen to your newly formed Primogen Council, sir. He offers a slight bow.
The prince smiles and says, "The Prince of New York recognizes you as such. Primogen of Clan Ventry."
Max will also return another bow. Thank you, my prince.
I must say, I am not surprised they picked you.
The selection of myself, while every Ventru is normally ambitious, is a bit of a surprise as well, considering my youth in comparison to some of the others. Mr. Oz. Oh, I can't believe I just fucked his name up. Mr. Brooks saw fit not to pursue it, and also backed my claim. Mr. Budge and Mr. Braddock also did not desire the position, so I was the only man standing for the position.
I hope it will not be a choice out of default. I'm surprised Mr. Brooks didn't say yes to this, however, that does not make you less of a candidate.
Ambition can have many forms. I'm more surprised of Mr. Budge not wanting to grasp this position.
Mr. Budge has...
The prince will press away a smile, as the prince knows what Budge is. However, not wanting to feign his presence, he will not say anything.
Max will speak in. Mr. Budge has a position of esteem within the court already. Mr. Budge is quite content with his position, and we all agreed that having an additional voice on the court would be more politically expedient than just lumping all your eggs in one basket, I believe as the saying goes.
I couldn't agree with you more.
Now, thank you for your acknowledgement of both myself and of my position. And we, as a clan, approach you for a few favors, or rather permission, as it were.
The prince straightens up, looks at his seneschal for a moment, and then scrapes his throat. So, what can I do for a newly arisen primogeniture?
Well, not for myself so much as it is for the clan. We've decided as a clan that we are looking forward to controlling and setting up domain, a venture-controlled domain that would still be, of course, loyal to you, in the Battery Park and Battery Park City areas.
Interesting location.
It has history, and it was my suggestion for Battery Park City, since it is a residential and small business, although there are quite some large businesses in the area, but as a residential area. Also, Battery Park City is actually built upon landfill, rock and soil that was removed during several tunnel excavations. So it is turning trash into a residential powerhouse. I felt the allegory was fitting for us. Battery Park itself houses Castle Clinton, and we were looking at it as a venture meeting place. We would also extend courtesy to the prince and his chosen guests as well, to both Battery Park and Battery Park City.
You have a way with words, Mr. Hardcastle. I like. You're born for this. Politician and wise as well as smart. The prince needs wise. It's the prince and the city needs wise and smart. However, when I made my declaration, I gave coteries chance to go before clan. Am I not right?
You are correct. No. Sorry.
You are correct, my prince.
Now, I seem to have a problem here. My problem does not lie with your request, Mr. Hardcastle. It lies with the fact that I have court members who did not step forward and tell me what they would like. I have court members who represent coteries who have not stepped forward and told me what they would want. The only one who asked me, requested me, what she would like to have is my seneschal. So what to do? Slighting the coterie of the quills by letting you have first pick next to me and the seneschal? Or remember that you were here requesting this, and when they request, I'll keep that in mind. What would you say, my seneschal? What would be wise?
I would suggest sending out a message and give the people a time frame. If they do not send you word within a certain amount of time, then it is very simple. Whoever comes first will get the first pick. And it will be up to them to maintain it.
You see, I already thought about that, obviously. My only problem I have, Rose, is that I did send out a message by means of Harpy. I simply did not give them any time to react, thinking that they would want to have a place in this city. Now, I could be wrong, and they rather look at the map and feed everywhere, but that's going to change soon because we are at war. I thought they noticed we went to war, since we already had so many casualties. But
So,
I might be old. Maybe I just simply forgot.
may I interrupt?
You're already. But
I
please,
know.
go ahead.
You are right. The city is not used to the proper politics because we have been fighting for so long. The city is, you could almost say, barbaric in its way. They will need to be taught to honor the right order of things, because most of us have been fighting or discussing with werewolves, with demons, with changelings. We have all been up to that. I think
So,
most of us forgot the proper ways.
so how do I remind the quills what the proper ways are? Or how do I remind my sheriff that he needs to come forward? How do I remind my keeper of Elysium to
As I
simply
said,
ask?
make it more concrete for them. Give them a certain time span, a week. And if they don't
That I
reply,
already gave them a certain time span.
no, you kept it vague. I'm apologizing, my prince, for interrupting and for disagreeing with you. But simply saying you need to step forward, there are always more pressing matters.
More
This is New
pressing
York.
matters than an audience with the prince, other than war, and I don't see war every day on my doorstep. You would say that sending a letter like Mr. Hardcastle did should be something small, something trivial, and have me decide the time frame. Now, I'm an old man, and I like old things, as you can see. So I will have you, my seneschal, write a message to all who will hear it and read it, and you give them a time frame.
Yes, sir. You might also want to consider that your harpies need more structure. Because did they send out word? Did you receive that word?
Not all harpies need more structure.
No, I have seen the word of Mr. Budge. I have seen the words of Mr.
Castellanos?
I've seen their efforts, but still, apparently, they, even together, don't seem to be able to get the message across. I am not saying it is their fault, but there is a problem somewhere along the line. Either their communication wasn't clear, or the ears that had to hear weren't clear, or maybe both.
So who would you, my seneschal, chose to take a lead into getting messages out that I've already foretold and spoken?
I would say you have the right people in the right place, but do they have experience with being harpies? Do they know what it's like to be a harpy? If you would ask me to be a harpy, I would not be able to do it. You are now teaching me to fulfill my position to the fullest. Can you blame
Yes,
them for not knowing exactly what they need to do, especially in a city so turbulent as ours, where we stand still and seem to be running almost at the same time?
you're right. You're right. And the man who was harpy for so very long, trying to lead them, is now also my sheriff. Don't you agree he's overburdened and somebody needs to take over his position as harpy so he can focus fully on being a sheriff? Because I believe he's lacking, as you have now stated so, in
I think
time.
all the all your court is not used to their position, and not all of us are that old yet. I don't think that Mr. Limey is lacking. He has been the only harpy of New York for such a long time, and once again a very turbulent time.
Right.
And now he has to be at two places and two positions at once.
So you suggest to divide up his titles, sheriff and harpy, two
I am
different people.
suggesting to make sure that the three of them adjust and divide their duties and tasks, and make sure that they are properly executed, and that they learn from each other, and, well, maybe even from someone who has a unique perspective on the position as harpy, such as yourself.
Right. So I'm going to be playing in this. And I'm going to ask the primogen of the venture as well. Who would you say is the head of this three-headed dragon? Who would lead them the best, but also have the time to lead, and maybe the experience, so, if you think it's there?
Next things. To be perfectly honest, I've only met one, and that is of the Mr. Budge. He seems to be a perfectly competent harpy. I spent some time during my agoge under the tutelage of a harpy, and while I didn't get to see all the secrets that a harpy knows, I was educated, shall we say, in proper Camarilla etiquette. If I may, you made this announcement about the coteries and the domains quite some time ago. And to my horror and then to my great relief, I didn't feel, since I have not had your acknowledgement at the time, it was proper for me to say anything. So I did not put forth a claim. Now I have your acknowledgement, and I thank you very much for it. And you've also agreed to let Clan Venture sit me as primogen. Now, you are asking about messages loud and clear. From your attire, from the night of acknowledgement and as well as tonight, I take it you have a military background, if I may be so bold as to ask.
You can ask, but asking it shall be my primogen for To answer that question would be a lie, because what I am or who I was is no longer of importance, really. What I am or who I am today, however, is much more so.
Fair enough. Then, as a leader, sometimes it is necessary to show your message instead of telling. Now, Seneschal, damn it, what was her name? Frickin' notes. Rose, sorry. I am horrible with names. That's why I write it down. Now, Seneschal Rose is a member of a coterie and has came to Ask Domain first. I am assuming that is the gist of the conversation that I heard so far. Is that correct?
It is. But that is my personal domain, and not yet on my coterie.
Well, as she is the first one to ask, then let her reap the spoils of following instructions as they were clearly given. I'm remembered of a saying by Sun Tzu, a long dead 2,000 years military strategist from ancient China. His tactics work even today. 2,000 years later, the ability to kill somebody from a zip code away or even continents away now with the push of a button, his tactics ring true even today. It is imperative upon the leader to make sure his messages are clear, concise, and well understood. However, once if the leader is clear, concise, and understood, then it is time to find new lieutenants to lead your men. I understood your message loud and clear. Your seneschal understood the message loud and clear, and speaking for Clan Ventrue, they understood the message loud and clear. So it is not the fault of the leader for his message, or of the Harpies to deliver the message, as we got the message loud and clear. I believe what is lacking here is willpower on part of the soldiers. Sir. Max will put his hands behind his back after he says that.
The prince looks at Rose, but he has a shit-faced grin on his face.
So, I would like to... I have an argument against that, to be perfectly honest. The only reason why I put forth my claim for domain was because you told me directly the order was there. You spoke the order when I put forward my claim. There is a formula that's used by a lot of, well, how you can call that, workers in social care, people who work like psychologists and something. They call it SMART formula. It is stated that whenever you set a target, it has to be specific, it has to be measurable, acceptable, realistic, and there has to be a time measurement in it for a goal to be able to be fulfilled. Now, the message that the Harpies gave was specific because it stated the order of things, and it was measurable. It was, of course, acceptable, and therefore it was realistic, but there was no time set. And with no time set and other things that are pressing, like the life or unlife of one of our own.
Oh, please don't talk to me about that trash. If you do, don't mention that in my courtroom ever. Please.
I beg your pardon?
as I stated before, and I will state to you again, do not mention that thin blood in my courtroom.
Hmm.
The only reason that still walks around is because we still have to investigate and acknowledge the fact that she used to be something else. That's the only reason.
Hmm.
Rose, you've been a seneschal, but you've not been around as long as I have. I have seen what these thin bloods, these trash mongers are, and what they can become. They are a message that some say are the end times. Others believe that they are simply rotten, that they are messed up.
My prince, I must have missed a memo, but I thought we were rescuing a Malkavian. However, I will talk to the sheriff and make sure that I got my data correct.
So understand, friends are lost, and I have talked to the sheriff. I've mentioned it to the sheriff. I've mentioned it to the keeper, as it has been written down at the keeper, as the Tremere have their own harpy.
Yes.
Although I see your point, I see the things that you are saying, Rose. I simply cannot see the lack of interest in taking responsibility for an area.
Hmm.
It's not only you, but it's also the Quills. They are the ones at fault here. They have given the right above clan to state a claim as a thank you from me for the things they have done for the city. But have they responded? Have they sent any letter as I requested them? I know the answer is no because you haven't said anything. I haven't heard anything from my keeper claiming anything. I have
So,
not heard anything from the sheriff claiming anything. Now I understand that you say time is an essence, and with time we have enough. But I specifically said that first come the seneschal, then my court. If my court not answers, must I wait with the rest of the city because my court is too deaf to understand or too blind to read simply harsh words of a harpy? You're telling me I should put the city on break because people are deaf?
well, if that is what you wish to hear, then yes, my prince. But no, I was not saying that. I am wondering, however, whether they know that I put forth my claim. Because if they don't, then they might just be waiting for the signal. I will give them that.
Great. Then by this means, because you think this is very important, this order of things, although I put you all in the same line, hereby I proclaim that your request for domain has been granted. Tell this to the harpies so they can put out the word. However, I will say that Battery Park is no longer requestable unless they have a very specific reason. That's not saying that the Ventru have this domain as such. It simply means that they have put an option on it. And this is the small gift I will give my court, and not simply grant it automatically to the newly admitted Primogen, I might add, who is now also a member of my court.
Your decision is noted, and I will pass it to the harpies. Sir.
One more thing, Rose.
Sir?
I am disappointed in Clan Bruja, as you are one of them. I suspected Clan Bruja to be the first to step up and claim the Primogen. I already feel like they have the right to. However, the king stepped up first,
Yes,
something I did not expect.
my prince, I will interject at this point. My clanmates have been tortured one after another to be examined, and while that is absolutely correct, we have not had the chance to put our clan together. I do understand the necessity of the domain, and I do understand that the necessity of a Primogen, and trust me, there is nothing that I wish more than to pick one, but I hope you do understand that I want to do this with my clan intact. And right now it is not. We are still missing Ghost, who is still being examined by the Tremere as we speak right now.
Right. Although I understand loyalty, you do know the rest of the city, by your own words, is now waiting upon you as the Bruja.
No,
Because
they are not.
after the clans, only after the clans come individual claims.
Yes, but we just stated that the clans still need to wait for the court.
Oh yes, but then again, the court and the quills are close to be the same.
Yes.
Either you connect with your clan or you connect with your coterie.
I will do both.
Wonderful.
And if my coterie has not put forth their personal nor their coterie claims within this week, then, well,
I
their claims
say
will be
you
forfeit.
want to make it a week? I would say 36 hours. It's not hard to put a pin in a map.
That depends. The Quills have been working on defending the entirety of Manhattan before you were there. We do not have a location because we tried to cover the defense of the entirety of Manhattan when we were practically without Prince, and you do know that.
Your previous exemplary work has already been rewarded by titles.
Yes.
You want to bring up the fact that you did this city a favor, you can. But the more often you use this, the weaker this statement will become.
So I'm not asking for a second reward. I wasn't even asking for the first. I am, however, stating that this is something that we will need to discuss. And discussions tend to be lengthy. But it will be as you wish. 36 hours and there will be a claim, or we will forfeit.
Done.
May I ask a question?
At this moment, the prince is looking at the seneschal and then back at Maximilian.
While I have no overbiting love for Bruja, I am curious as to why the entirety of the clan is staked and being investigated by Tremere.
That doesn't have anything to do with us being Bruja. It has something to do with my clanmates entering Sabbat territory to, well, on a mission. They got the result that we wished, but there is a chance that something might have been manipulated. and that needs to be investigated.
I see. So they went behind enemy lines, and now the Tremere have the entire clan staked on a rumor or suspicion?
One by one, yes, and we allow this because it is the wish of the court. And because we do understand that in this city specifically, we cannot simply go by a promise that we are not part of an enemy sect, as this city has been under the line of fire for quite a while now.
Hmm.
At this moment, Johan looks at Rose, and I believe, or if I'm mistaken, is Mr. Bishop staked as well?
No, sir.
Then it's not the entirety of the clan, like we claimed 2 times.
No, I did not claim the entirety of the clan. I claimed, to be exact, half of my clan, one by one. Those were my exact words.
No, actually, you answered the question Maximilian told you that it would be the entire clan, and then you claimed one by one. But the first time you claimed the entire clan.
No, I didn't say entire.
No, he did, and you said yes. Anyway, moving on. So technically you do have somebody to converse with.
Yes.
And now the sheriff is back. You're waiting
Yes.
for Miss Ghost?
We are waiting for Miss Ghost, yes, but we are already trying to get together to at least discuss this territory and domain thing.
Good.
However, we want to wait with voting for a primogen.
I will ask for the Tremere to release ghosts at their earliest convenience, as is also my earliest convenience. I'll make sure that this goes quickly.
That would be, we would be very grateful for that. We do miss her.
If there are questions about their loyalty, or perhaps if they have been somehow co-opted as a Manchurian candidate or sleeper agent or something to that effect, I am not entirely without skill in mental persuasion and can get to the truth pretty quickly. Usually.
I can already personally guarantee that the loyalty of the Ventru sheriff is, from my part, without question. I have stepped beyond the borders of his mind and have seen that during the last incursion there might have been a mistake here and there, but there is no ill will to the Camarilla.
Good.
I have not yet spoken to the Brugia sheriff, my prince, but I will confirm your...
Ah, the Bruges sheriff. Anyway.
I have spoken to Ghost, though. Rose will raise an eyebrow as she hears the snicker of the prince. She...
The prince looks at you very stern and then simply say, "Next time you speak to the sheriff, tell him to hurry up."
I will. I will speak to him as quick as I can. As fast as I can. Whatever. English. However, Miss Ghost, Miss Ghost is truthful when she says that she is not, or she says she's not a member of Sabbat.
Thank you for that revelation. I would like you to personally keep an eye on her to make sure that her loyalty does not waver.
If that is your wish, but I keep track of all my clanmates.
I know, but I'm saying it very particularly because since the last Anarch uprising here within New York, I've had my doubts about her loyalty towards Camarilla.
She has been nothing but truthful.
That's something I'm very happy to hear.
Max will, at the word anarch, have a slightly visible look of disdain on his face when he hears that. Hears that word. But he says nothing.
The prince also does not speak another word about Anarchs and simply looks at Rose and says, Rose, when the Ruha have chosen another their primogen, their representative, would you do me a favor and check on the Malkavian as well? I believe the clan of Malkav have risen quite quickly with their members, and if they count among themselves, not counting Dr. Kaufman, 4 or more, then they too receive the right to have a representative. But very specifically say so, that they cannot count Dr. Kaufman as one of them.
Dr. Kaufman.
I will instruct you in a moment, or I will inform you in a moment, my primogen.
Apologies.
I will keep an eye out for the Malkavians, and I will send them word when they count 4 members.
Prince smiles, and then says, Miss Hardcastle, I'm sorry. Dr. Kaufman was a member of the is a member of the Camarilla who found herself abducted and dragged behind enemy lines. Then, for what I have seen, she has been within the captivity of the Sabbat. And when she returned, the Tremere found something very disturbing. They found out that the person calling herself Dr. Kaufman, being recognized by her siblings as she, her memory served as she, as far as I dug into her mind, still does not represent the bloodline that we know, that we thought that she was.
That's very disturbing.
It is. However, I cannot find falseness within her when it comes to her lineage.
You want me
but
to do this,
it
so
is so.
Hmm.
my prince,
Yes.
you want me to check on this as well?
The fact that she might used to be of Clan Malkav does not reject the bloodline she is now.
Which is
She is of the Cadiv bloodline. If the prince says this, he will shrink his nose and not be very happy to have to mention this.
Interesting. Does the Tremere have an answer to why these changes?
They have not. They only have assumptions, but nothing they can prove.
I see.
They have doubts themselves. They think it might have to do with some power the Sabbat have.
Hmm.
But still, I don't like having a Cadiv in the city because they themselves put a stain upon what we are.
It is an interesting feat. A dangerous one as well. Are the Tremere looking into this any further?
You'll have to ask the Tremere, but I do not want them to keep testing upon testing upon testing
No,
upon vampires,
I do agree on
even
that.
though they are Cadiv. I do not want them to have an omnipotent amount of guinea pigs within their halls.
I do agree on that, but if they can turn a Malkavian into a Caitiff, if this is actually true, then they can turn a Ventru into a Nosferatu and a Toreador into a Dzimichi. Or maybe they can turn all of us into Caitiffs.
I would assume they eat a bullet at sunrise, then become a caitiff.
I think I'm not the only one who has the same idea. They will not turn my blood into that trash.
Come what may,
Be a
how I
Nosferatu.
feel about this, if they can harness this power, which they clearly can, if we believe these stories, then I think it will need to be investigated further, and we might also want to look into a way to turn this around or to stop this.
Well, since you're so interested in this, if you keep this subject quiet, you have the right to further investigate it. However, when I say quiet, I do mean quiet. Try not to involve those who do not want, who are not in need to hear this. I want to keep this within council, within court, because I don't want the city to know what I know when it comes to this trash.
Well, I do hope you gave Dr. Kaufman the same order, my prince.
I would think that having the bloodline that she has she would very much like to keep that very, very quiet. If I find too many people claiming to know that this is the case, I might need to exile a caitiff from the city.
If you want to, I can talk with the Tamer about this. See if they have any ideas how to proceed on this investigation. I think it is
Oh,
important that we find a way to counteract on this,
like I told you, I don't
especially
mind you.
especially if the prince is claiming that he would rather commit suicide should something like that happen. This makes this ritual even more a threat
Then
because
they'll first have to take me from my chair, from my haven, from my museum, or from anywhere I am. I stake this as impossible and I want them, I beg them to try. I am not here to cower, and I'm not here to counter anything that I consider crazy, insane, or impossible.
no, sir, but you are here to lead. You cannot lead if you're dead.
I will not die. I will promise you this, for we are already dead. And I will not be dust.
Well, sir, if you think it's not important enough, then please, by all means, I have enough to put my energy in, of course.
You want to investigate the caitiff, then you do so. But do not, unless you find something very, very interesting, bother me with that caitiff. Because rather I have her not mentioned, like I stated before.
Very well, sir. We will put it under the table and not mention it again. Is there anything else that you would like to discuss, sir?
I don't know. What does my court bring into this room? I'd like to know.
Well, there is the matter of my clan wanting to have a place of personal domain, but as the princess stated, coteries shall have first choice.
That's true.
And
So
you're
then we're done.
right. Very well.
Rose, could you contact the Harpies? I want to know if there's any people who have a status in the city among that of neonates. When the coteries and clans are done, they will have first pick. And we'll go down the line. Caitiff will have a claim at last.
Understood. Do you want me to contact them now?
No, you can do that later.
Very well, sir.
Good. Then I think, Mr. Hardcastle,
Sir?
we are done.
Yes, sir.
You are dismissed.
Right. Max will come to attention. He will about face, and then he will walk out.
Mr. Hardcastle will find an open door and a smiling man with a mustache. As you walk out, the door will close behind you, leaving the prince and the seneschal. And the seneschal will see the prince look at her and then say, investigate the caitiff nonetheless. If you can turn this around, that would be great. However, I want this to be kept between us for now. For I cannot be found feeling or caring about someone of trash blood. This will tarnish my reputation, and I cannot have this. So you can search, but you can never claim this search comes from me.
Very well. If that is your wish, then I will investigate. Is there any way that I can use funds if necessary? For instance,
How-
blood or houses, materials.
Fill in a request with my retainer, and I will look over it, and I will send you back a message what you can and cannot have.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Is there anything else, my prince?
Yes, could we please get out of this museum? As he rises up and walks out, or walks in a way the exit is.
Those will follow, I guess, as well. Probably we can end the scene there.